Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
He's at the 20.
They should stop this one.
What you got? Domination, snot bubbles.
He throws, complete, touchdown. They've got him again. They've got him again. Sack Crumpler, what a throw, what a hit, what a catch.
Defense is just way too much for the count.
It's caught by Alshon Jeffrey for a touchdown. He pushes, touchdown. Jalen Hurts, touchdown. A.J. Brown, a run. He's going to score.
It's a touchdown by Nick Foles. The train is in the end zone.
Touchdown.
Torrey Smith
In for the touchdown is Jefferson. Touchdown. Jalen Hurts.
So the Birds are going into week 5 with some drama. And although this is an annual tradition for the Eagles, this time around, the noise around the Birds won't be going away anytime soon. After beating the Bucs on Sunday afternoon in what started out to be a great day for the Birds, with Jalen Hurts going 15 for 16, 2 touchdowns and 129 yards with 9 rushing attempts for 62 yards in the first half. And all that sounds great, right? Well, the Birds ended the second half with Jalen Hurts not completing a single pass in the second half, going 0 for 9. That's just not acceptable. And with those incomplete passes and incompetent play, just the vanilla offense overall, everyone knew exactly where to point the finger because the Birds offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, has not been the best at play calling in recent weeks.
Yeah, so the second half, I mean, when you look at the game as a whole, we started off the game like we wanted to. We had good pace, good rhythm. We got it going. And I think really sometimes when you evaluate games after the fact, there's obviously things we want to work on to get better and we know we can be critical of as a staff, that we know we can continue to improve. So I think stepping out of it and looking at it, there were some things, just I felt like at times we were just trying to do what we kind of wanted to. And looking back, I think there's some things we can change as far as how we want to approach that situation. But really, it just comes down to just learning from each situation. We've had very unique games to this point, and so I think it's been good to go through that. Early in the season, we've played really, really good defenses, and we've had to adjust accordingly, whether it's second half, whether it's come out in the first half and do different things to try to throw them off. And so I think really it's been a good learning process for us early now, as a coaching staff and players to kind of continue to grow as an offense.
Now, everyone knows by now that the offense is very conservative, either starting the game like week 3 against the Rams or ending the game like last Sunday against Tampa Bay. In addition to the running game just looking awful and the offensive line is just really banged up, more than we're really being led to believe, because Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens are on pace to allow career high pressures and sacks on Hurts. And I have to think, in my opinion, it has to be that they're hurt in order to allow these pressures and sacks, because that's just out of character for these two great offensive linemen. With Cam Jurgens allowing 3 sacks and 13 total pressures, and Landon Dickerson, who's now on pace to allow 12 sacks and 55 total pressures this season, his previous career high is 5 sacks and 38 total pressures in a single season. So, like I said, on track to allow career highs in pressures and sacks. And yeah, I know we have to talk about the Eagles wide receiver, A.J. Brown, who posted cryptic tweets on X/Twitter. And this annual frustration with A.J. came after Brown leaving the game Sunday with just 7 yards on 2 receptions and 9 targets. That's also not acceptable. And as I've said before, this is an annual thing with our star receiver or receivers, with Smitty not excluded, because Smitty doesn't really say much publicly like A.J. Brown does, but both wide receivers declined to speak with the media after Sunday's game. And Skinny Batman left the game with just 2 receptions on 20 yards. And I truly don't know what to say about this anymore. It's an annual tradition, like I said, for the Birds at this point. Last season, it was, should the Birds fire Nick Sirianni? And then when we were starting to roll offensively in the run game, the infamous clip of A.J. Brown on the sideline reading the book stole all of the headlines for the rest of the season, even until now. And a lot of the fans are looking back into the cryptic tweet by A.J. Brown, posted even after the Super Bowl, when Brown said, and I quote, "I tried to feel how everyone made it seem to be a champion, and unfortunately, it was short-lived. 2 days to be exact. LOL. I've never been a champion at the highest level, but I thought my hard work would be justified by winning it all. It wasn't. My thrill for this game comes when I dominate. It's the hunt that does it for me. It's when the DB drops his head and surrender because he can't F with me. The intense battles, early mornings, late nights, sacrifices. I love putting smiles on people's faces. Don't get me wrong, but it just wasn't what I thought it would be. It's the journey that I love the most. Back to work. Now, people are looking back at this post and have tallied it up to say A.J. Brown is now only focused on numbers. He doesn't care about a championship ring anymore. He's all for self. And we can speculate and go with innuendos until the cows come home, but I prefer to go with the facts. And I haven't heard A.J. Brown say any of that he only cares about himself and his stats. So I'm not going to even push that narrative here.
But I think it's fair to want the ball to get us going. Like last week against the Rams, I caught the sluggo, got the offense going next play, opened up for Dallas Goedert. The safety came over to my side and opened it up. So, I don't think it's a bad thing for one. The ball is not just for targets or anything to put numbers up, but no, I see that we're struggling, and I'm a guy that wants the ball in those times when we can't find a way. Give it to me. Like when the game's on the line, give the ball to me. I want that. I want that pressure. I put it on myself, and I work hard for it. And that's what, the misconstruction or whatever you misconstrue, whatever perspective you can about me, but it is what it is. And I don't care, to be honest, because my teammates know. My teammates know that when the game's on the line, look at me. And I want everybody in the stadium to know that, that's not a secret. I'm not shying away from that. And so that's where you see that frustration, because that hunger comes out. That's because I see we're struggling, and I believe that you give the ball to me, I'm going to open up things, and I'm going to get this thing going. You can put it on my back. So.
And I'm really conflicted with this because as an Eagles fan, I should be used to this kind of stuff, right? I mean, it is kind of par for the course. And with all of this drama surrounding the Birds, it's very hard to enjoy the win sometimes, I mean, look, we're 4-0. I mean, that has to count for something, right? The only undefeated team in the NFC, along with being one of the 2 undefeated teams in the NFL, with Philly and Buffalo keeping their 4-0 records throughout the 4th week of the NFL. I really don't have an opinion about the A.J. Brown debacle, but I just wish he could keep these things in the house because it just piles on to all the other issues that the Birds already have publicly. But looking at this tweet, it does seem like he's talking about someone specifically. And it seems as though whoever it is, he's tried to talk to, but they aren't listening. Just hence the part of the tweet that says, if you're not listened to. I don't know. Like I say, I'm speculating at this point. And I will say this also. I don't push narratives here, but I got to keep it real with you guys. Like, this is just coming from me, my brain, my opinion. I don't think after this season that A.J. Brown will be a part of this team. And I know the cap hit is huge, and I honestly have no argument with that. Like, you got me there. I'm honestly just looking at the tweet, and I really don't think A.J. Brown is happy in Philly. I could be wrong, and I'll be happy to come back here and say that I was wrong, like, seriously. But the whole if you're not welcome part just rubs me the wrong way. And we know the quarterback and him aren't as close as they once were. And it seems as though since 2023, A.J. Brown's complaints have gotten even more nuanced throughout the years. Like, just look. First, it's the arguing with Jalen Hurts on the sidelines, which is typical. Then it's the book, right? And then it's the passing comment to the media.
That the offense needs to improve on passing.
And now it's the cryptic tweets. It just seems like, in my opinion, Brown is tired of having to say, throw me the ball. Year after year after year. Now, like I said, if I'm wrong, I'll probably come back on here and say that I was wrong. Because even after the passing comment to the media last season, AJ and Hurts went on to demolish the Steelers through the air, with Hurts throwing 290 yards with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and Brown just snapped with 8 receptions and 110 yards. So I'm praying this Week 5 matchup against the Broncos will really mirror that performance, that Week 15 matchup of last year, with Hurts and Brown, and God's willing, it'll hopefully calm a lot of things down. Now, I've been very lackluster this season, and I have to apologize to you guys for that. And since I've been MIA the past few weeks, I'm going to be giving away 1 ticket to the Eagles-Lions game in Week 10. All you have to do is comment A.J. Brown down below, and we'll spin for the winner. And by next week, Monday, yes, Monday, we'll announce the winner of the tickets. Now, we do have to do our Week 5 breakdown of the Broncos because this team is coming into the link with some very similar things to Philly, and that's a dominant defense. And Philly is going to face its hardest test offensively on Sunday. And so far this season, the Eagles haven't truly seen a defense like this one, because the Broncos defense leads the NFL in sacks with 15, QB hits with 41, and pressure rate 47.1%. through 4 weeks. So this has to be the week that Jurgens and Dickerson really dropped the anchor, because this team is very tricky with their defensive line. And the last thing that the Birds need is constant pressure on Hurts at the link. Now, Jalen has been very good against the blitz lately, especially in week 4 against the head coach that blitzes more than any other defense in the NFL. Now, even though A.J. Brown has had some issues with the pass game, he'll really have to show off against this secondary, because they're not giving away anything easily, because Riley Moss and Pat Surtain's numbers through 4 weeks are nothing to sniff at, with Riley Moss, who's been targeted the second most in the NFL with 27 targets this season, but has allowed only 12 receptions, fewer than any other player with 20 plus targets. And Moss has also allowed an average of 2.6 yards on separation in coverage, the second tightest coverage in the NFL. Now, I don't think Moss will be covering A.J. Brown. He'll most likely be having Smitty in coverage, but Pat Surtain's numbers isn't anything to sniff at. Now, Pat Surtain II has been elite in coverage, allowing just 1 completion in minimal targets while shutting down top receivers like Calvin Ridley and Keenan Allen. Now, A.J. Brown isn't neither one of those receivers, and I know if Patullo can get the ball to A.J., which he showed us that he can in the L.A. game, I think A.J. Brown can still cook on Sunday, and I'm predicting him to have his usual 8 to 9 receptions with over 100 yards receiving. And yeah, I know Riley Moss is very good in coverage, but I think Smitty will be right behind AJ with at least 90 plus yards on about, 4 to 5 receptions. Book it. And all of this talk about A.J. Brown has gotten in the way of the production so far from Dallas Goedert, who's been a stud, I gotta say. The early injury is an issue, but Goedert, like clockwork, was really good against the Bucs on Sunday, with 4 receptions on 34 yards and 2 touchdowns, averaging 9.4 yards a catch. And in the last couple of games, the Hurts to Goddard connection has been very solid. We talked about their connection and chemistry that was reported in training camp, and I said then that I hope it inks into the field, and it most certainly has. So I think Goddard will also get his due on Sunday with the same amount of receptions for and at least 50 yards and a touchdown. So book that also. Now, there's been a lot of issues with the run game in Philly, and listening to the Eagles tackle Jordan Mailata speak out about the blocking concerns with WIP, I gotta say this is a very interesting take.
This week, that's going to be my emphasis as a leader on this team, is especially for the O-line, because it starts with us, is that we need to break that huddle faster. Shoot. Don't care if we don't even get the play. Let's just get to the line, and Jalen can tell us the play while we're at the line. Let's just get set.
In the Eagles' run game, it starts up front with the offensive line. Last year, we were able to take over the beginning of games and close them out with an elite rushing attack from Saquon Barkley. But this year, not so much. With Barkley not having a single 100-yard game through the first 4 weeks, and a measly 0.05 yards after contact is not going to cut it. And I know the run game has to be better, but the offensive line has to do their job and execute up front. So that is one thing we really have to keep our eyes on, and just hope that the guys get it together. Now, I can't be the only one concerned about Lane Johnson. I know this is probably Lane's last season, and he'll maybe, and I said maybe, retire next year. But Lane sat out of the last 2 games. Sat out of 1 game with the neck injury in week 3 against the Rams. And even on Sunday, in which was reported to be another shoulder issue, he sat out against the Bucs. And that made it 2 consecutive games that Lane has sat out. The offensive line did look completely different. Like, of course, that's to be expected. But Fred Johnson did come into the game in week 3 and held it down for Lane, which was really a huge help on Jalen's blind side. And the same for week 4. But then again, Johnson came out of the game with a shoulder injury in the first half against the Bucs. Now, he did play the rest of the game, but that's something that we're going to have to really check up on moving forward also. Now, speaking of injuries, the Eagles lost edge rusher Ogbo Okoronkwo to a tricep injury for the remainder of the season, and this is a big blow. But as soon as that report came out, the rumors around the Birds going and grabbing another edge rusher began to spread immediately. And the Jaden Phillips prediction were the first ones that began to resurrect, because we talked about the Birds maybe signing edge rusher Jaden Phillips before the season began, when Sports Illustrated and Eagles insider Ed Cracks reported that the Eagles may be looking at grabbing one of those young edge rushers from Miami. And Phillips is on his last year in his rookie contract, so it would definitely make sense for the Birds to grab him, seeing as though the Dolphins may be looking to restructure their roster in the future. Now, I honestly don't think Howie is looking for another pass rusher, just honestly, because Azeez Ojulari hasn't had a chance to really show out yet in these live games in the regular season. I still want to see what he can do in live games, seeing as though he's up next. So let's just see what Azeez can do. I'm very excited to see what he has left in the tank. And staying with the defense, the Eagles have opened Nakobe Dean's practice window and signed Antoine Powell-Ryland back to the practice squad. And I couldn't be more excited for this news about Nakobe Dean because there's already dominance coming out of our linebacker room, especially our rookie with Jahad Campbell bringing a boom in games, and he's been a force. So now with the addition of Codeine, I think Fangio is going to be Birdman hand rubbing when he gets all of his guys back on the field. Now, I don't think Kobe is going to be inserted right away. Fangio will probably give him some more time before he trots Dean out there full time. But once we get our core guys back in the linebacker room, along with the young guys like Smile Munden and, like I said, Jahad Campbell, our second level defense will be elite as ever. Probably more dominant than the 2024 season when it was just Codeine and the bald eagle, Zach Bond. And, you know, before I get out of here, I got to let you guys know, you guys are Eagles fans, which make you great already. But you guys are great because you let the players know how you feel. You let it be known how you feel. Don't let anybody tell you how to feel with this. The team is 4-0. You should be happy. If you don't like what's going on the field, or you're not happy with the actions of a player, express your opinions. And be sure to express them down below in the comments. Let me know how you feel, because it's always appreciated here on Eaglecentric, and we want to know how you feel here. We're going to be responding, we're going to be reacting, and we're going to always be right here. A lot of great things going on over here at Eaglecentric. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you can have a chance to be a part of all the fun things we're going to be doing over here at Eaglecentric. Had to do a quick breakdown before Sunday's game to get you all informed. Also, you know the routine. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching once again. Be blessed. Go Birds.